My name is Neil, and I used to think that fulfillment came from following the conventional path, a stable job, a loving wife, and a nice home in the suburbs. I was 35, happily married to Sarah, and we had just started talking about starting a family. So when I returned home from work one ordinary Friday evening, I didn't expect the storm that awaited me. As I walked through the front door, I was greeted by an eerie silence. The house felt cold, too cold for summer. My heart raced as I glanced around, noting the unusual stillness. Sarah was usually bustling around, humming to herself while preparing dinner, but today there was only an empty kitchen and an unsettling heaviness in the air. "Sarah," I called, trying to sound casual, though my stomach twisted in knots. I headed upstairs, each step like a countdown to an inevitable disaster. I paused outside our bedroom, feeling a churning sensation within me. I pushed the door open, and what I saw shattered my world into sharp shards, each cutting deeper than the last. There was Sarah, sitting on the edge of the bed, clutching a crumpled piece of paper in her trembling hands. And there he was, Jake, my best friend since college, standing awkwardly by the window, his face a mask of shame and worry. They turned to face me, and in that moment the room fell away, leaving only a suffocating silence enveloping us. "What is happening?" I managed to choke out, my voice barely above a whisper. Sarah's gaze dropped to the floor, and Jake stepped forward, his hands raised in a futile gesture of peace. "Neil, he began, but I couldn't wait to hear whatever hollow excuse he crafted. I felt something bubble up inside me, a raw mix of rage and betrayal. "What? You thought you could sneak in through my life like a thief in the night? Is that it?" My words dripped with hurt as I focused on Sarah. "You told me we were looking to build a future together. Was that all a lie?" "Neil, please let me explain," she pleaded, her voice shaking. I couldn't bear to look at her. The woman I loved had built our life on a web of deceit. "Explain. What could possibly justify this?" I gestured wildly at Jake, my anger morphing into disbelief. You of all people, how could you betray me like this?" An hour later, after a frenzy of accusations and tears, Sarah confessed everything. It turned out that their affair had started months ago, long before we'd even begun to discuss having children. The day I'd put a ring on her finger was the same day they had shared their first kiss, but they had promised to keep it a secret, keep it clandestine. Yet the guilt seemed to devour her from the inside, damaging everything we had built together. "I didn't come from a broken home. How could I do this to you?" she sobbed, the tears streaking her mascara down her cheeks. My chest tightened painfully. "Maybe you should have thought about that before you dove headfirst into this," I shot back, emotion choking me. How could she claim to love me when she had willingly destroyed me? In that moment, I fled the house, my sanctuary turned prison. I wandered the streets aimlessly, a man devoid of purpose. My head spun with images of their laughter, their whispered secrets. Everything I thought I knew about love came crashing down. I had always considered myself a reasonable, forgiving man, but in this moment bitterness clawed to the surface. In the days that followed, I was lost. Friends sensed the change in me and did their best to support me. But what did I want? To wallow in self-pity? To make them pay? I decided to channel my anger into something I hadn't acknowledged before: art. I had dabbled in painting once long ago, but life had swept me away from it. I needed a release, a canvas for my burden. I found an art studio around the corner from my apartment. It was a quaint, chaotic place filled with splashes of color and the hum of creativity. When I picked up a brush for the first time again, it felt foreign in my hand, almost awkward, but I ignored that. With every stroke, I expressed my pain, my rage, my sadness, everything that had surged to the forefront. Days turned into weeks, and painting became my therapy. Colors spent days mingling, mixing, and fighting for dominance on the canvas, much like my tumultuous emotions. I poured my heart out. My art morphed from dark hues to brighter shades as reprieve washed over me, slowly but surely. One night, while I was lost in creating, I didn't notice when someone else entered the studio. It was Mia, the owner's sister and a fellow artist. She was new to the area, not that much older than me, her auburn hair cascading around her shoulders, her laughter brightening the already eclectic room. "Your work is intense," she said, peering over my shoulder. "It tells a story of heartbreak, maybe?" "Yes," I replied, my voice barely above a whisper. "It's all I've got left." We ended up talking for hours. We shared not just our stories but laughter, dreams, and aspirations. With every conversation, I felt a piece of me, the scared, lost Neil, begin to resurface. For the first time since the betrayal, I genuinely smiled, discovering that healing sometimes arrives in the most unexpected forms. A few months later, as summer turned to fall, we grew closer. Mia had a way of encouraging me to stretch creatively, pushing my boundaries, helping me find not just color on a canvas but in my life. It was during an evening visit to a street fair, lights twinkling everywhere, laughter spilling into the cool air, that I realized something had shifted. "No one can take our joy from us, Neil," Mia told me as we watched kids running about, their carefree glee infectious. "You can choose how to move forward." I took a deep breath, absorbing her words, feeling a flicker of hope igniting inside me. It was time to forgive myself, to lean into this new life and embrace the possibilities it offered. As winter approached, the art studio buzzed with excitement. A group exhibition was in the works, and I decided to showcase a piece that symbolized my journey. A massive mural of dark storm clouds slowly dissolving into a radiant sunrise. It encapsulated everything: the betrayal, the pain, but also the resilience and the triumph of emerging from the shadows. On opening night, I stood before my creation, surrounded by familiar faces. Joy danced in the eyes of my friends and Mia, and in that moment I felt complete. This was not just a gallery filled with my art. It was a testament to how I had learned to rise from ashes. As I spoke to onlookers, detailing the inspiration behind the work, I mentioned Jake and Sarah, but not in anger, merely as part of my story. I had released that part of my life, choosing instead to focus on the canvas before me and the warmth of new beginnings. The end of the night came with applause, and as I soaked in their admiration, I realized something monumental. I was no longer defined by the betrayal or sadness. I had transformed into someone new, someone worth being proud of. Months later, a text from Sarah popped up out of the blue, requesting to meet. While uncertainty fluttered in my chest, I knew I had to face the ghosts of my past. I walked into the coffee shop with the same nervous energy that once enveloped me, but this time my heart was steady. "Neil, I'm so sorry," she started, but I interrupted her with a raised hand. "I appreciate your apology, but I've moved on. I wish you well, but that chapter in my life is closed," I said, my voice strong and unyielding. And just like that, I walked away, leaving behind the remnants of a heart I had fortifyingly repaired. Stepping out into the open air, I felt free. Instead of bitterness or regret, I felt lightness echo in my soul. In the days that followed, I continued to flourish both as an artist and a person. Sometimes it's not the past that defines us, but how we rise from it. I had learned that even in heartbreak, there lies the potential for beauty, a reminder that every ending awakens the promise of a fresh beginning. Thank you for listening to my journey. It took time to heal, and I'm still a work in progress. Has there ever been a time when you thought you had reached the end, but it turned out to be a new beginning? Let me know in the comments below. Your experiences would mean the world to me. If this story resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more narratives. Your support truly helps keep this channel alive. Until next time, take care and keep creating.